I'm wrapping my mind around continuing to do what we're doing in addition to this.
Right.
It's impossible to tell from the outside how work intensive stuff is. Is that like impossible?
I just don't know how hard. Like last week when we were doing research for that and then doing our podcast and like everything is going on, it was stressful. It was hard, but I just have to I have to be a little bit more organized.
I just have to stuff it down inside and do it anyway.
I have to keep going.
Yeah.
Because I'm committed.
Can you do me a favor and turn your little knob and adjust your height? Or maybe you just have to scoot your chair in because it is kind of at the right height. Yeah. I'm gathering candid bullshit. You're one. Because you don't bellow with the privilege of a cis white male.
Oh, I can if you want
shit.
me to.
Well, now you're peeking.
No, I don't. It's not natural for me.
I have a real problem being away from the mic, so I'm going to pull my shit.
And then getting close to the mic and getting loud.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Fun for me.
It's awesome.
It works out. I don't notice it.
Yes.
Well, Mundy does a lot.
On the pod. Yeah.
Mundy
does
spends
he
a lot of time
edit
adjusting.
Yeah.
Even more?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It usually takes him how long does it take you to edit a podcast?
For like a 1 hour podcast, 3 hours.
Yeah.
What about Monday? Do you know?
No clue.
Oh, okay.
More than that, but he's also got a baby.
I hope I see him more because I notice he's in IGN videos a lot. I don't know how or what the connection is, but I'm like, I hope I cross paths with that guy. All right, shall we?
He'll probably be in a thingy, right?
Huh?
He'll probably be in a thingy, right?
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know who.
He won't like show
That's
up
what
in the
your new
office,
job is?
whatever.
They have
but
a
like,
track
when do you
record of
leave?
hiring him for shit. So, November 1st.
Oh my god.
I know.
Oh my
I have
god.
mixed feelings about it.
In San Francisco proper?
The offices are, yeah, but I can't live there.
Where do you
I'll
think?
be at Oakland.
Okay.
They're the first stop across the Bay Bridge into the city. So if I live right on the other side of the bridge on Oakland, it's
just a bridge
actually
right away.
an
Yeah.
easy commute. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like literally 35% cheaper.
yikes.
That's a good segue. So welcome back to Tea from the P, which is usually what my body does with tea that I drink. No, it should be pee from
Pee
the
from
tea.
the tea.
Toilet
That
for
doesn't
the
even
poo.
work.
Yeah.
Welcome to Toilet from the Poo, the long-running series about the shit that life throws at you.
Ooh,
huh?
That was good.
Yeah.
I am here, so happy to be here, with the linchpins of the news everywhere. Let's all have some more empire. Katy Stoll and Cody Johnston. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Oh.
Thanks for having us.
for
This
having
marks the very first Tales from the Pit ever to feature 3 voices.
Oh, honored.
I don't know what that means.
Oh yeah, what's gonna happen?
Misery loves company.
It does, absolutely.
And maybe the last Tales from the Pit episode ever. I'm just going to let that hang.
Oh,
Or
it's an
a
ominous-
preview of future episodes where it's like 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, where it like gets really off the rails.
That's true.
Well, then we just-
Polyphonic spree in the
Yeah,
pit.
This is
We're
the
just
jump the
having a
shark
party.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah. It will I'll be relocating. So I guess maybe it will depend on my ability to make friends in the new place and whether they're depressed or
Well,
in grief
And
or
like open
addiction.
about
I'll
it and
say-
willing to talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are people who are depressed that want to talk where
Where
you're
I'm
moving.
going. Sure.
But if not, there's always remote. Like you can podcast from anywhere.
That's
we can record
true.
on
Yeah.
our end and give it to you.
We're going to send out feelers and be like, who's capable
Oh,
of
yeah.
remote. Small Beans is also buying some of our key operatives, like our Christians and our
Yeah.
Bridgets, home kits.
That's a
I was
great
gonna
idea.
say,
So
yeah.
It's not
going.
So
too
other
expensive.
people can go there and record it there with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're arming the people.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I want to have you both on concurrently, concomitantly,
That's
I'm going to look it up later.
a fun new
Together.
word.
Together as one, is because it bears directly on your work on Some More News
Yeah.
and Even More News. Because there's a joke that ever since you blah, 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 blah. Just in case, because we got to capture that demo. We have almost complete overlap, I feel like, in our fan bases.
Sure.
So in a quick nutshell, explain Even More News, Some More News, and how long you've been doing it and what the process is like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for a year and a half now, I wouldn't say. a little after everyone left Cracked.
Mm-hmm.
We launched the Patreon
Yeah,
in
January, February maybe of that year.
Yeah, maybe March. Who knows? Time is crazy. And we do a weekly YouTube news show that Cody writes and hosts, and we do a weekly podcast that we co-host, and I research and write up for that. And we're about to start. We just started a new show with Robert Evans from Behind the Bastards, also from Cracked, and that's going to be all about 2020 and the upcoming election, and it's called Worst Year Ever. So it's a lot. It's a lot of news every week. It's a hamster wheel for sure.
And sort of it was originally an extension, again, for people who may not know, but probably do. Sort of an extension of an old show when we were the Cracked.com called Some News. It was weekly. It was much shorter.
See, I think that's shady. Taking like the core concept of a show at Cracked and continuing it. That just
yeah. Who would do that?
Who would do that?
You're opening yourself to some lawsuits.
Oh,
buddy.
come on.
Cue the Small Beans, the off hours theme song.
I don't know what that is, but we can talk about it later.
I could probably hum it. I bet I could hum it. Well, just like it was kind of a few months after the election that started, and it was about every week, much shorter, and obviously we had a crew and we had many people, sort of
a whole team of people that can contribute ideas and jokes and stuff.
Yeah, and just sort of focus it. I guess that's why it was shorter.
And I think very importantly, a writer's room meant that everyone's casual absorption of the news that we do from day to day was cumulative. So you could meet and be like, what are the top news stories? And people would ping around and someone would be like, I didn't hear that at all, but someone else would catch it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or like, I want to talk about this, and someone like, like this other thing.
And then you just have to look
up
I
didn't hear about that part.
Yeah.
Exactly. You help each other learn so that there's no one person that has the responsibility to stay on top of everything.
Yeah.
And that is probably the most difficult aspect of what we're doing. And now at this point, so as we've grown, the whole goal would be able to bring people in to help. So we've got, David Bell contributing scripts, Katie Golden sometimes contributes scripts. We just hired a research assistant to help us with some of the podcast stuff.
Oh wow.
Just to provide extra support. But it's always last minute because you don't really know what the new news stories are. And so that's usually for even more news, but like we record on a Wednesday, something crazy breaks on Tuesday, you know? So we're usually like, we give suggestions of stuff that we want some extra support for, but we have to do a lot. It helps a bit, but
yeah,
it's still.
But you're talking about 5 brains. Shows like Daily Show Last Week Tonight, it's usually like 15 to 20 brains.
And
so
it spreads out the work.
Yeah. How do you delineate? And we're building to the emotional impact, but do you guys delineate like news absorption time? Like, do you sit down and research for a while and then cut yourself off? Or do you passively always check your news feed at all times? You know what I mean? How do you tackle it?
It's a constant negotiation for me. I think I'm better about this than Cody is. I am at a point where I have to turn it off completely. So like I barely look at the news on the weekends. And then the flip side of that is that then there's a lot of catch up. And it's a little painful sometimes where you're like, you've just got to keep reading things and get through it. And sometimes it's overwhelming because you're like, but if I'm really doing a good job on this, I need to like dig deeper on this. So, I'm still negotiating that balance. I probably shouldn't take the whole weekend off, but it's very, very important to me to carve out time that is really free of the constant stream and, try to ignore all the notifications and whatnot. And that's where I'm at now. Finding that balance. But Cody, you're definitely different. Mr. So-and-so who was up till 5 a.m. reading about Bill Maher last night.
That is true. I was up quite late. I am very tired right now. But hopefully you can't hear it in my voice. I'm terrible at it. I agree with everything you were saying. I just don't do it. I think it was probably easier back in the day when you had more people. But yeah, I'm very always passively absorbing the news.
Well, and part of this is being online. We're both very online. You're way more online than I am. But part of what adds to that is like, because you've got to interact with people. You learn more when you're going on and seeing what conversations are being had, what responses are happening.
There's always new information too, and there's always just always an additional thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like with the show also, with the YouTube show, one thing I really like to do is sort of like have all these sort of disparate topics and like bring them together and put an umbrella over them. Like, this is what they're all about. Sort of, and like have some sort of thesis that ties them all together, whether it's like, two things that happened maybe weeks apart.
Right.
And so I think I still always have this thing in my head. It's like, if you don't look on one of the days, you will miss the thing that's really something. Like you'll miss the key thing that triggers this and then triggers that, and then you're like, oh wow, now I get it. Now I know what I'm gonna say. Now I know what the relevant pieces are. So I think I always feel like I will miss it if I'm not there.
So you're trying to come up with an actual thought that you believe in and stand behind about society or a trend in culture. That's hard to do one a week of.
It's hard,
and that's why it's a huge relief and a gift that we are able to bring people in
and do more evergreen stuff too. Like, that's one thing we're trying to do. Exactly, the boars. The boars.
And that's
because with the old show too, there would be like, I remember one time I was working on a script and it was around like healthcare time when the Republicans were trying to cancel everybody's healthcare.
One of those times.
One of the many times that was happening. And I was like I remember I was under my desk in the office and like working on a script, and then like our director Adam Kanzer came in. And it was the day before we shot, and he was like, "You got to do the episode about this other thing that just happened." And I was like, "Oh, what?"
Do you remember what it was? Yeah,
it was the healthcare thing. I was writing about something entirely different.
Related.
I forget what that was, but it was something totally different. And he's like, "You got to do this now." And so like, all right. Yeah, I will do that. And then you write an episode, and then you're going to shoot it in 14 hours or whatever. We do less of that now because it's like a couple of weeks, and also we have the evergreen stuff that sort of buffers that.
Yeah, and
but I do still have that drive to like make it. And
it's interesting. So we've made this show. We consciously made because you've always wanted the ability to go. Leaving Cracked. The problem that you had with the old show was that it was
being told to leave Cracked.
Right. But you always had a problem with how short it needed to be and how quick. Yeah. And so it was like a real delight to have like, oh, we can decide how long it is. But now
they rode that trend right off the edge of the cliff, didn't they? Like, YouTube videos kept getting longer and longer, and they were still like, short, punchy, that's what we want.
It doesn't make a difference.
They were like 11 minutes-ish, usually, the old episode.
Which is hard.
And the first one that we did with a new one was like, I want to say 29 minutes.
Yeah. And that's kind of we're always between 20 and 30, but sometimes because
you know
60,
you like and you want to add as much context as you can, and everything has like a path that you can sort of veer off onto and then come back to. Just be like, oh, by the way, like, this is important to understand as we're talking about this other thing.
But we did kind of, at this point now, this far deep into it, back ourselves into a corner of we're doing these really long videos, because at first we were just doing 2 a month. But as promised, as it grows, like we said, we would deliver more videos a month, and our Patreon supports that, and so that's what we're doing, and that's why you have to outsource it, and it's been hugely helpful. But it does get hard. You have to, it's hard to take a step back and take a breath. Sometimes you need a little bit of space to have perspective. And when it's constant, that's difficult to find.
Yeah. And I think just the landscape now obviously is, it supports that, in a unhealthy way. Where like, there is something every hour that's like, what, this, what?
Yeah.
And like, I try really hard to not get focused on him and what he says and what he does.
Yeah, Voldemort, sure.
Yeah, just because like
he who shall not be named.
It's just every day, and it's all the stuff, and like half of it doesn't matter, and half of it's bonkers, and
half of it's like, look over here because of the other stuff that already
so
happened.
You don't want to get distracted by it. Even though he's the president, you got to talk about it. But even without him doing that, there is still stuff all the time.
Yeah,
and
and to be fair and balanced and all of that stuff. I mean, it's important to look at everybody. Like, you don't want to only focus on that monster.
Right.
You know, you want to criticize the people that you might have the power to influence. You want to talk about the Democrats and what
the
they're
people
doing.
that-
You want to talk about the media. You want to talk about other things that people should care about because
and things that made him
and the
happen.
things that made him happen and have some context. Because one thing that's very important to me is once we get him out of office, is that people stay engaged, that people don't slip back to what the
Just
status
gotta go back
quo
to
was
normal.
before,
Just want
because the
normal.
status quo wasn't good.
Yeah.
Ooh, I made you cough.
You did. I was choking on society's iniquities. But I do think, yeah, we'll see. This episode is not explicitly to talk politics, but
Yeah.
like around politics.
Oh yeah,
But
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I
It
don't
causes
know that
sleep
people
problems,
will-
I guess, is the short
Yeah,
answer.
I mean, there are
Oh.
plenty of emotional things to get into. So that's the setup of like what our schedules are like and what we deal. And sometimes it's much easier than other times. Like some weeks
Sure.
seem to go by relatively breezy. Yesterday we recorded the pod. Whenever we sit down to get ready for the podcast, I'm like, is this going to be a good one or a bad one? And sometimes it's therapeutic. Sometimes I
Yeah.
leave it feeling like, well, we talked about stuff and I feel good and we managed to laugh a lot and I feel a little buoyed and a little comforted in some way. I certainly feel that way when people reach out and
Yeah.
and express
and say the same things. Yeah.
and say the same things. It's so important. It's not to like both of those things can be true, but then some
Right.
weeks it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the record, I agree the status quo already sucked. I just think
Oh, I
if we
know.
get back to it, a bunch of people who are currently outraged will settle back down again.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
will.
Because they were fine
Oh,
with
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's not him, they'll be like, all right, we did it.
We did it. Yeah.
We
And-
saved the Republic.
But I do hope that people, I mean, they certainly, I want people to not be outraged all the time. I want people to be healthy and happy and able to focus
Right.
on their lives, of course. I just want them to also not just take it for granted.
Yeah.
And
Well, and hold people
and, like,
accountable when
because
they're. Yeah.
also say the pendulum swings back our way. Well, everyone talks about the pendulum. We go all the way to the right. We go all the way to the left. Means
Super
it's
Obama.
gonna go right. It's gonna go back again. You know,
Yeah.
like you just can't be complacent.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so tipping over into the emotional dimension. Katie, you've been on the show before.
I have.
2 or 3 times, I think.
I can't
Maybe
remember.
2.
2? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But and I've known you a very long time. We've talked about anxiety and depression. Cody, I haven't talked explicitly with you as much. I've seen you be sad sometimes.
Sure.
But do you have issues with, and I think the ones that bear on today's topic are like anxiety or depression?
Yeah.
All right, great. So my question is, how did it change texture and form, if at all, now that you're like shoving news into your brain every day? And because certainly every phase of like my job, whatever you're interacting with every day starts to affect the things you notice as you walk around, and your brain like colors your day-to-day experience. So that's really the core of this episode of Tales, is like, how's that? Because also a recurring joke on people who do comment is, because Cody's the face in front of the camera, so it's most often directed at Cody. How does he survive? How is he, like, how much are you Lewis Black in it? How much is your exasperated host character actually how upset you are? But I extend the question to both of you, because obviously, Katie, you're doing just as much research. How's that sitting? Has it caused any like discernible change in the nature of when you have negative thoughts or tough
Absolutely.
emotions? Okay.
Yeah, it's all tied together for me, and I'm trying very hard to be aware of it and pinpoint it. You know, if I'm feeling disorganized, or I'm catching up, or I'm immersed in it, sometimes I physically feel like I want to jump out of my skin, if that makes sense, where I just need to like throw this computer, but I don't do it. My anxiety is is very much tied in with all of it. But I'm pretty good at, I mean, people throw around self-care, whatever that means, but like, what do you need right now?
Yeah.
I work out probably too much lately. But it's a good productive
That is a
way
good one,
to
yeah.
put it really changes things for me. If I'm feeling aggressively anxious, I need to go and do a class of some sort, go for a walk, do something, and it changes my perspective. And that's always been true for me, but I've been relying on that a lot. And
I think it's physiologically true. It's
Yeah.
just a lot of us have trouble motivating to do
yeah.
it.
Also, it's expensive to do a lot of classes and stuff, which I specifically love.
But they're so much easier than having
they're so
just
much
going out and
easier.
like jogging by
Well,
yourself.
and
yeah.
for me, I find a lot of community in that. I don't know if anybody else is like on the fence about those classes. For me, I go and I talk to people and I connect, and I've made a lot of like great friendships for it. So there's some sort of support system out of it for me.
That's another aspect of being cognizant of the news. Jen, my girlfriend, deals with a ton of stress at work as a social worker. One of her best forms of self-care used to be Zumba classes. They only have good Zumba classes at 24-Hour Fitness. But she's also a social worker, so she doesn't feel she can go to 24-Hour Fitness anymore since they've called the cops on two black men in their showers who've been gunned down. So now she's just sad all the time.
Right. No.
She gotta
to
find,
boycott 24
she gotta
hour
find another
fitness.
Zumba.
Right, because if you're hyper aware of what's going on and various pieces of society's relationships to other pieces of society, then you're like, oh, I can't do that now, or like it puts a little wrench in your
before I knew
schedule
about Chick-fil-A. It was just a place that had chicken sandwiches, and I liked it.
It's hard because it's our responsibility
Right.
to stand up in our personal lives for the things that are important and say like, no, I'm not going to accept that. Bye.
And money is one of the only ways that works to do that.
I felt very bad for all of my girlfriends who I've never been a Soul Cycle person, but you know, I had so many conversations with girls that were like, I just bought a package and they're expensive.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're all.
I'm
back
never
at Soul
buying it
Cycle,
again.
like-
Oh, see, I haven't heard that one yet.
It was
Something
so
horrible
many,
happened with Soul Cycle.
So many people, they're like, well, I'm not going to buy one again, but what do I do? I was like, well, at least give it a beat before going. My one friend was like, maybe it really is sticking it to them, though, just to use these packages because I've already paid for it.
And you're like, that's a good rationalization.
That
Good
is
job.
a rationalization.
that is a rationalization, but it's hard. Like,
Well, it's also like the idea of like, oh yeah, they did a fundraiser for the guy, and like, oh, we're gonna boycott him. Who doesn't like what like company, doesn't tangentially support like
Donald
awful
Trump?
people and Donald Trump? Like like they're all
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, is Soul Cycle the only one? No, everybody does that.
Oh no, the vast
course.
majority of things I buy, the money mostly goes to corporations whose name is not printed anywhere on the product, and I don't know,
Right.
and who
I
knows what
Exactly.
political
can't think
affiliations
too
they
closely
have.
about that. That would be a whole other layer of anxiety.
Well, if you believe that runaway capitalism is one of the main problems, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's all there is. It's all you breathe.
You
it.
have
Like,
to
it's all
you have to
around
participate in the system.
Yeah, and then I love that becomes the ultimate straw man argument of anyone is like, and yet you participate in
Yeah,
society.
well-
You're like, yeah, because I don't have the balls to go starve in the woods. You're right. You got me.
Got me.
I didn't save the universe. Like, I still care about
still
stuff.
still say stuff that I want to be true.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I want to hear from Cody on
Yeah.
news input affecting your emotional state at all. Like, do you feel that you are bummed or overwhelmed with anxiety, more, less, the same? And is it all about politics now or like news?
I think it's I don't necessarily say I think it's bummed. I mean, you have depression, like it's a very
I just feel like
things.
it's not my right to say you're depressed.
Sure. Anxiety. I mean, I always had like anxiety stuff and stress stuff and like sleep issues and like
Okay.
my sleep schedule. Like procrastination, which is more of like it's more like about like mood regulation and anxiety and stress. Like they feed into each other. And I would say this is definitely exacerbated.
Do you do
all
the
of
thing
those.
I do a lot where you're too stressed about how much work you have to work on the work?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
you sit there knowing like it's just getting worse every
To work
second.
on the
well,
work,
right,
the
and then
actual
you-
work or on like your personal work.
No, I mean literally like
Do a thing.
I have so much
Right.
work that my thoughts are so racing
Yep.
about how much work I have that I can't
Yes.
work.
100%.
Yeah, and I pace a lot and stuff,
Yeah.
and sort of like thinking about all the things and this and this and this, and then you have that voice in your head that's like, "You fucking suck. You know,
And it's
you know
like-
what you're doing. You know,
You have to just start doing it.
and you know
Yeah.
when you start doing it, it's gonna be painful because it's
Yeah.
gonna be like you've been building it up and up and up and up. So it's like
Yeah.
this sort of like cycle of like
Yeah.
negativity that
and at the same time
feeds into
you've
itself.
done it 100 times and successfully finished, so it's like, what the fuck is your problem? Just do it.
Just do it, right? Yeah,
just do your
like,
job.
What's the fear?
Yeah,
Like,
do it. You know you do it, and you're like usually proud of it when you've done
well,
it.
because
So.
for Cody, this is like an outside observer, but we're very close. We've been very close for so long. We've worked together for a while. You know, you've always worked well at the last minute, and you know things click together.
Right.
It's very difficult with this. It's very difficult. I mean, at first it is, but it's not sustainable. And so there's work habits. There's things that have to change, that you have to adjust. But there's almost like, but that's an emotional level of work. Mm-hmm. That's separate from work. That's personal work, and it's very difficult to find the time and the space and the clarity to do that kind of in-depth work on yourself while also meeting a deadline. Do you know what I mean?
And to separate
it's like,
them.
But it gets in the way of itself. Or I've been doing a lot of that personal work lately and seeing the results. And I'll just say, pass on something that was said to me, which is that like, you always think you can't do the personal work stuff. Like, I don't necessarily even believe in a higher power that cares about me, but because of AA, because I'm like doing what I'm told and doing the program, I pray every morning. It takes like 20 minutes, prayer and meditation routine. And my sponsor was like, it's the same as going to the gym where you're like, I literally don't have the time to do this because I have to do this and that and that. But then after you go, you procrastinate so much less and are so much capable throughout the day that you're like, I made back way more than that amount of
right. Yeah,
like,
you put the thing off. You put the thing off because you in your mind. I have the same thing with meditation of like, why would I take 20 minutes to do that and sit in silence when I've got all this stuff to do?
Right.
But then you don't do it, and like it builds up and builds up. And if you did the thing, it would have actually helped you do the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, meditation is rough for me.
Yeah.
It is. It's hard.
It's
like,
tough.
and I am like, okay, is it over yet? Is it over yet? Is it over yet? I'm not calming my mind. And I should do that. It's very telling that instead my meditation is I'm going to go listen to someone tell me to do 15 push-ups right now.
But that's also like, it's a similar effect.
It is, but I think
it silences your inner monologue. That's the goal, right?
It's important to stop this chatter.
But
makes me crazy.
I also need, that's why the prayers are good, because it's like reciting a poem that you memorized, which also crowds your mind with. The hardest is the classic form where you're like, just turn your thoughts off, not with any sound or music, like just sit there and don't think anything. And you're like, all right, I'm not thinking anything. That's a thought. Fuck, I fucked up again.
100%.
Wow, I can't even go a fraction of a second. I did it again. This is a never-ending stream of thoughts.
Have you ever tried TM?
Is that what
the
drug
one where
is
you
that?
get transcendental meditation. You get a mantra that you repeat.
No, I've tried DMT.
We're gonna look into that because I've
Very different.
I've seen stuff about TM that seems a little too culty.
Sure.
And like scammy.
Sure.
I don't care for it.
What's the
you already did
core
it.
practice though? Because anyone can add cult shit.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
Like
it's just you
core-
sit for 20 minutes and you say your
a couple times a day. You repeat your mantra.
but having is that the one where like practitioners will give you a secret mantra
Yes.
you can't share with anyone or it loses its power?
But
that's where it's the layer of you're like, all right, we don't have to make it magic now.
Yeah, I also like. I'm pretty sure it.
No, we have the same mantra.
We have the same one.
We
I also
finally caved and told each other, and I was like, God damn it! And I knew it because our birthdays are almost the same.
Well,
oh, you think it's based on birthday?
I don't, because
I do.
I went on a date a couple of years ago, and we both found out that we both did that, and I was like, "Is this your word?" And she's like, "Yep."
Can I ask?
Same word.
Was it dirt?
No.
Okay, the only
Is yours
friend
dirt?
I know. No, I didn't get one, but I had a friend who did TM, and theirs was dirt.
Oh, interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Ours is not a real
Are
word.
you willing to
gonna
say
say
it, or
it?
do you think
Yeah,
it'll
it's-
lose the power?
It's sharing.
Sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Don't know.
It's nothing.
But it's
I also-
actually, but it is something. Like if you think sharing.
So
But
no,
like-
that's a huge problem. As soon as we started,
That's a
I was like,
huge problem.
no, because like that's what it always made me think of. As soon as like I was like, I'm always gonna think of showing. That's like every single time I do it. And then you're thinking about that, and then you have all these other thoughts, and like now you're like thinking about Wayne's World, and you're like, that's not what I'm
You're
here
like,
for.
He was so good. It's a shame what happened to her, but those early movies hold up.
Stop it, Cody.
No. This is supposed to be a nonsense
Shring,
word that just like
shring.
shuts my brain off. Shring.
Soon
Yeah.
you're thinking about Master Disguisey or whatever his name is. You're like, how did I get
Right,
here?
the little turtle character. Yeah.
I know. That never occurred to me. To me, it's always string. string,
like a phone. Yeah, that sounds not relaxing either.
Yeah.
It's like a phone.
I
Just
don't do it very often.
Do you know the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo?
Mm-mm.
It's a good one.
But my point just
Sure.
is like having something in your mind to focus on.
Yeah.
Is, like your poem, like your prayers. It's potentially effective. It's effective for people, and when I sit down and do it, it can be effective.
Yeah, all these things are nice when I do them. It's just it builds up and then your sleep gets all messed up, and like I said, like I was up to 5 a.m.
And for you, is that kind of the kind of thing? Because for me, build-ups like come to a head, and I actually freak out. Like Katie, you're talking about almost throwing your computer or something like that. Have neither of you ever actually broken something like out of? I've punched through the monitor of this computer. This is the second monitor. Ooh. I'd order another one from China and disassemble it. But wow. I was editing something and it froze for the 20th time, and I punched the hole straight through.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
I think I have not thrown my computer. It comes out in different ways, I would say. Terse, tense. Like the worst is if you take it out on people that you care about in some way, or communications lapses. You know, but I see it like if I'm
people I care about.
If I spend too much, I was just saying this last night. Like I find if I'm too much online, personally, too much news, too much interacting with people that suck. Everything around me is irritating. This person walking down the street that's taking too long and I can't pass. Yeah. The person that's not going up like the way somebody responded to me on this text, sure. Like it makes me very edgy. And so there's a real mindfulness of, and I'm proud of myself for all the times that I catch it, of like, this isn't about that. This is about my emotional state right now. Yeah. And trying to like pinpoint that, but I have not punched through the screen of my computer. I don't think I've broken anything.
I haven't done that. I think when that moment hits me, I usually like shut down and get into like a depressive state.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering, is what's the ultimate end of the cycle?
It's
before
that,
it restarts.
I think,
yeah.
is the shutting down.
And you're pressed for a while, and that fades, and it all starts over again.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And then I come over, and I bring a treat, and give a pep talk, and we say, like, okay, let's break this down, and go one by one through it, and...
Or you force yourself to take some time off or something.
Or
until you're ready to start
that.
over. And then
that's
you do
interesting. So we took a big chunk of time off over the summer. We took the month because we realized it had been almost a year since we'd had a solid break. Even Christmas wasn't a break. Mm-hmm. On the one end, because you're traveling and the holidays are stressful, but also because we were still releasing things.
Yeah.
And it's only like 2 weeks. So it had been like a really long time. So we took all of July off and prepped for it, and it was lovely. But coming back was really hard.
I was still doing some stuff during that month, but yeah.
Still doing some stuff. But you know what I mean? Like in general, it was like, we're going to give ourselves this space, and we're going to come back, and we're going to have had a nice reset. And it was hard. It was really hard to get back into it. I wasn't ready. It's interesting. And so that's why, to me, it's very important to maintain that balance. I'm trying, again, like I've said, that maybe it shouldn't be the whole weekend anymore, but I'm done now at this time, and I have something fun planned in this evening, and I'm going to go out, I'm going to see friends, I'm going to be social, because it's very, very easy for me to become a hermit and to not see, and I know Cody can relate to that, to not see anybody and to isolate and then just get really high.
Other than like the 3 people you see to make the show.
Yeah. And like all of my texts are just with Cody and our editor and our director. You're like, okay. But, and I love TV. But TV can't be my best friend. Michael's making a face to suggest otherwise. It can be a very good friend. So I just think it's important to be very mindful and achieve that balance. Because again, I'm still very grateful for the work that we're doing. That's the other side of the coin. The people that are listening, everyone that reaches out. I can't respond to everybody that does, but it's like very validating.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's a catharsis to do the work. Cody, you've got, I'm sure, stuff to say about all that.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. I don't do the balance thing, but I agree that it's good when you do it. I think coming back was really hard.
Yeah.
Also, the topics, I think, are can be a little much. So we took took a while off. I did a lot of driving actually, which is a little stressful.
I encouraged you not to do that.
But there were some lovely moments and elements of that whole road trip and stuff. And there's one day where I just like walked along a lake surrounded by mountains, wrote like 5 songs that day, did nothing, didn't take out my phone. It was great. But then coming back, one thing we did almost immediately was go on our buddy Robert Evans' podcast. And he read us his book, and it was all about the fascist movements of American history, like from the 20s.
The American Nazi Party.
American Nazi Party, and like all the sort of right-wing extremist violence. And like
I listened.
Yeah, you listen. Yeah, so just the thread from that to now, and the connection that those movements have, and some like literal like actual like connections where like these people communicate with each other, they coordinate, they have like these sort of goals.
They're transitioned to using the internet to,
they're
cells, literally creating cells.
Right, like there's terrorists. Like literal terrorist cells. And
they
like
huddle in dark rooms together, coming up with nerdy fucking names for their various ranks.
Fucking LARPers.
These LARPers, but like actual like their goal being like terrorism, where they're recruiting these people and sort of radicalizing them, leading to like this sort of accelerationist violence we're seeing. And so we did that,
and you were like, I miss vacation.
Yeah, but then so the next day, the day after, it was 2 days we recorded. We recorded 7 episodes over 2 days. The next day was the El Paso shooting. That was to a T exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah, and he's saying it's going to be happening. It's going
to happen more. It's going to happen more and more. We're going to see it more and more. Literally the next day it happened. It was a terrible thing. And
it was gutting.
But he was explicitly affiliated with this broader network.
Yeah, and then the Dayton stuff too.
And then the day after that was the Dayton stuff, which I'm not sure if you're familiar, but online it became like the right-wing people start going through this guy's profile because he's a liberal. The Dayton shooter was a liberal person, and he was a fan of all of ours. If Cracked probably followed you. He followed all of us. He retweeted Some More News a lot.
Oh, I think one person tweeted at me like, "You're a friend of a murderer. How does it feel?"
There
or whatever.
it is.
And I didn't scan what it was in reference to.
Yeah, it was that.
It was in reference to that. It was the night
after
the El Paso. I think it was the same day.
So it was the same day.
Like, I don't know. It feels like Twitter's a public platform. Anyone can click follow.
Well, that's the thing. And he's like, the shooting wasn't political, although it might have been related to like the accelerationist aspect of it. Still don't know. But he retweeted the show twice. One of them was about voting, a traditionally nonviolent. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the other one, actually, interestingly enough, was about how the president continues to joke and like hint at wanting people to shoot migrants at the border. Yeah, which happened that morning at the El Paso shooting. So then you have these sort of like right-wing grifters like emailing you and like DMing you, like, hey, are you his friend? Are you friends with him? And like they're malicious actors, right? And that like just like coming back from vacation and like this and this and this. Oh, you're a murder helper and like all this kind of stuff. It's a lot to take.
It was hard for everybody. It was really hard for Cody. Well, especially because one of the things they started, there was like some article from some place that should not be taken seriously about it, and really framing this as like this guy was like a liberal shooter, and he did it because of this. And let's show you his social media, and they included multiple screenshots of Cody's face of the guy retweeting Some More News.
Vote and the El Paso thing.
It was very dishonest framing, and like then everyone's like, "Well, you influenced this person." Absolutely, we did not. You can't. We're gutted. We're gutted that somebody that was a part of our community did this. It's awful, but it's so. But
you can watch those episodes, and there's nothing you could even stretch and scan as. That's the seed that put in his mind. You advocated violence in code in this. Yeah. You don't do shit like that.
And I think that there's something to be said about everybody's rhetoric across the board. The intensity of being online, contributing. But I think it's very important that we're on top of it. I think it's important that you fight for what's important. I think it's important that you fight for what's important. Well said. But the flip side of it is that everything is the tensions are so high, and you never know how somebody might react in some way, even if you're not that I'm taking responsibility in that sense, but like it's
everyone's ratcheted it up.
Well, and the accelerationist thing on both sides makes sense to me, because that's just someone who's like, that's a classic depressive cycle. Yeah. It seems like there's a fair number of mass shooters who are people with severe crippling despair.
Yeah.
Who at the point where
it's
they're
the despair
like,
aspect. Yeah.
all the animals are dying. Everything's insane. Everyone's shooting everyone. I guess I'll shoot some people, and maybe this will just burn faster, and they can rebuild
And then
it.
exactly.
Yeah. And you're like, no. A bunch of us are still trying
actually,
to save it.
Don't give up yet.
Yeah.
Not quite yet.
Yeah.
Or also, like, giving up in that way is not going to produce any improvements.
Right.
No.
Well, like the whole idea is silly too. Like, and I think burn
burning
down and like
society down is such a simple, like 17-year-old solution.
well,
because
I think we also culturally we've been sort of inundated with all these, like all of our movies are about the end of the world.
Yeah.
And so we have, I think, this sort of like weird, like almost like desire for it, like it's the exciting end of the world stuff. But the problem is, all those movies, the solutions are, it happens and then you rebuild society, or superheroes come and save the day.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, they knew it was happening, so they all got together and they made some plans and they like worked together. But like on like a massive scale of like, we're gonna solve these problems. And so we have a lot of people that sort of like get dipped into that sort of despair.
I also do think it's interesting how many thousands of movies about the end of the world we make all the time, and there's only like 6 about climate change still.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we don't even want to imagine that one because it's too much of a bummer.
Yeah.
But someone will make like a Roland Emmerich level movie where there's nothing supernatural, just like, this is what's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
And it won't be an end of the world like a meteor hit. It'll be like you slowly start hearing millions of people in third world countries are dying of water, not having water, and you'll be like, I guess that's the world. And you're like, no, it's climate change, motherfucker.
Right.
And then some kind of war will break out.
Refugee crises. Like,
Sooner than later. I mean,
yeah.
this is going to be happening.
Yeah.
South Africa almost ran out of water a year or two ago. They were at like 0. They found a different reserve. I don't know how they solved it, but this. It's not, the problem isn't solved. It was just put a pause on.
Right. And so, so like I think we're all sort of steeped into not that specific mindset, but like all the news items that can contribute to it. So you have a lot of anxiety, you have a lot of depression, you have a lot of these things, and you can't let it make you despair.
Well, it's interesting because in the news app, you can pick subjects you're interested in for it to collate. Mm-hmm. And I think because it would be too grim or morbid or whatever, like mass shooting is not a subject. Like you can't, or neither is like police shoots unarmed black person. It's not like a subject. But climate change is, because it's more of a scientific, like that's clickable. And when I scroll through my news app, it's like random variety of news articles, including BuzzFeed's like, these tweets were funny. And then I hit the thing that goes like, all the climate change news, and my stomach drops.
Sickening.
It's like
The
scrolling
birds are dead
like,
now.
There are a lot
It's
of.
just
I saw that earlier today. The birds are,
dead. Everything is dead.
There's been a rise of support groups for people suffering from climate change anxiety.
Well, the most common phrase in the climate change headlines is more faster than we thought.
It keeps happening.
Very worried.
Yeah, worse than the bad things we said.
Or like realized this causes new source of carbon they didn't think of.
Right.
And the
Or
thing is, like, if it's all, if everything's gonna burn, all of it.
I mean, we're surrounded.
We're
surrounded by metaphors. It's appalling.
It's appalling. But like everything, all aspects of this is so much, and we all need to seek happiness. You need to find the time to like go outside and to like honestly enjoy it while we have it. In case it's not there, in case I can't go on hikes. In 20 years.
That's an interesting,
It's like you might be alive, but you aren't allowed out most days.
And
you just have to stay in with your HEPA filter. Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to be alarmist, but we don't know what it'll be.
There's going to be like a period of time where like, we're all obsessed with nostalgia these days.
Yeah.
And we have been. That's just like human nature. But like there's going to be a period of time where it's like nostalgia to us will be like, remember when we go outside?
Yeah.
Remember when you could eat fish?
Right. Remember
Exactly.
fish. Remember fish.
Remember sushi. Remember all of it. It sucks. It's
remember
hard.
fewer disasters.
Don't clone some fish.
Look,
I'll be
we'll
fine.
get some fake
It'll all be
fish.
fine. See, my cognitive dissonance kicks in. I'm
But
like,
it probably.
I'll be
I mean,
fine.
maybe it will.
Not fine.
But
it's. I don't think necessarily the world will be scoured of all life.
We will be fine.
We will be fine.
We might not be, but we will be fine.
I don't think the world
exist.
is, but I just mean that it will be different.
Radically,
and,
potentially, yeah.
And, you know, people always say like be present and like
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. But be present. Like just like a good way to combat some of this pressure that you feel building up inside is to just like, go outside and breathe. Look at things. Don't just glance at it. Look up. Do you ever realize that? That's something, maybe beside the point. When I'm walking through the world, I'm frequently like looking at the ground. God damn it, look up. Look at that tree.
From a great graphic novel I read as a child. Alex Ross, one of the most amazing Marvel illustrators, did a thing called Marvels. And like the final thing is there's a classic Spider-Man fight that many comics have redone, which is the Gwen Stacy fight with the Green Goblin. He's walking around on Brooklyn Bridge and everyone is not noticing because they're looking. And he's like, God damn you, look up for once in your life. And I I was like, that's a big deal. That's true.
It is a big deal. I do trip a lot because of it, but what are you going to do?
I don't know if you remember, there's in Final Fantasy VII, I'm
replaying it right
there's
now.
an NPC. It's like this one guy. He doesn't do anything. You don't have to interact with him. He's just there in one of the villages, and he's looking up throughout the whole game. You're like, or no, he's looking down. He's like trying to scrounge and stuff.
Yeah.
I think this is it. And then there's like an explosion.
When Midgar is collapsing.
Yeah. And then from then on, he's always looking up because the
plate is
everything
gone
came
and he can see the
down, and so
stars.
now he's finally like looking up for like things to come. It's like, oh, there's such a little
That's
message
cool.
from
I never knew
that always stuck with me. That switch that character made.
Yeah. All right. So a lot of people hate you because of the things you say, because you say things you believe in. And I want to jump to that before we run out of time, which is that I, as a writer and as a human, just desperately want to succeed and have success and validation and shit. So I think you'd agree, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty vanilla, or like my humor tends to be about animals or like non-political stuff. I rarely have done, I did an Abu Ghraib thing. That's like the only thing I can think of. And that's because
it's a fair thing to do something about.
The Abu Ghraib thing upset me enough that I did it. But I'm from that old school, or like, I know we're all roughly the same age, but for some reason I have that old school comedic sensibility where I'm like, people aren't here to hear my political opinions. And I generally strip it out, which is why it was so funny to me that as Cracked went on, everyone was like, these fucking bleeding heart liberals. Because I was, and I would always be like,
probably there,
why do you assume everyone's a hive mind?
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm always sitting in the meeting going, I don't know if we should talk about that in mixed company. I just got overruled a lot.
There was a huge shift at the end there.
And yet now, as shit is like going so badly, I feel guilty about not being on a side.
I don't think you should.
I'm like opening up more. But I guess my point is, I'll be totally honest, because this is the mental health show. Like, that's not even a strategic decision. I do it because I want everyone to like me. Like, that's one of my core things. When someone, even who I'm like, I totally disagree with this person, why would I care? But they go like, you don't think kids should be rounded up and put in concentration camps? You're such a fucking moron. I wish your mom got an abortion. I'm like, someone out there in the world hates me and wishes I died. It makes me feel bad.
What joke can I tell them that will make them?
And you
how do I fix this?
Completely court that, or you do a show where like you have to know going in. 30% of the people, because of the team they're on or whatever, no matter what we say, will say we should fucking die.
Yeah.
How is that impacting you? Do you give a shit? Or are you able to be like, whatever?
You're pretty good at that.
Yeah. So
I expected Cody would be better with it.
I'm pretty good at it. I think
it
in
makes,
general.
I think it makes you laugh.
It's fitting to me. You also had, on road shows, you had the least stage fright too. Like, I remember a show where you did a bit that was just going, and getting lower to the ground, and you were like, we were like, what are you going to do for your set? And you're like, I'm going to see how long I can stretch that. And all, like, me and Dan and Willard are like, I wouldn't do that. That would make me scared and uncomfortable to do. So,
that was actually, I think that was a trip where I was deathly ill. And I threw up, I think, like 2 minutes before that.
That's right, you did. And right after.
It was awful. I felt so bad. Oh, God.
Because
Jack got sick. at the airport, and he didn't end up going, and then I think he got me sick. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's I sort of always had that in like high school too.
Okay.
Of just like I'm just gonna do whatever. I don't know. It's funny.
You've got a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah, I've also got self-doubt. But
of course you do. But in terms of like your opinions online, you're like, I feel very confident what I'm saying, and like you care about what you're saying.
Yeah, fuck them.
Like
that's what I mean. It's like you're willing to tell someone who's a dumb, fucking, cruel person online publicly. You're a dumb, fucking, cruel person, which I am not even when I see that someone is, because I don't want their supporters to go, fuck you, dude. I'm gonna fucking find you, dude.
I mean that's I for the most part keep my notifications on Twitter to be like people I follow and they follow me and they're like, okay, we're gonna interact, and this is like a little healthier. Not that I don't read responses, but also so like when I started at Cracked, and actually what you were saying about like sort of apolitical approach, I wish I miss doing that. Because back in the day, it's like, here's this Slurp video. It's about nothing. Here's the thing about
telephones.
it's a puddle of mud.
You switched
video.
post Ferguson. You became it unlocked something in you. You became focused on the news.
Yeah,
I
Ferguson
think.
got me.
Well, the news show was relatively new at the time. Cracked started to crumble. So yeah.
But before that, for a couple years
yeah.
before that, there was a switch in Cody from just. You mean you still cared about all of that
Star
other
Wars.
stuff, comedy,
Marvel's
but like, but you would spend so much time going down rabbit holes online.
Yeah.
And so this is something that's in him.
Yeah, I think that I would agree to that. I think that's true. But also, so like when I started the Cracked, it was you were there. I was sort of brought on in general to be like the weird new guy, like an alternate voice to the common voice of Cracked. And so I did that. People hated me. They hated it. There was also like literally no announcement of like, by the way, there's a new guy. It was just like suddenly I'm there. I think of my first 2 articles or columns. In the comments, people were literally like, "Did this guy hack the website and post his stuff?" Like there was a serious theory that I did that. So there was a lot of hatred there, and I didn't really care then either. But I think that sort of helped me, like conditioned me to be like, all right, I'm not going to bother with that.
Do you credit anything to that? Like your parents, did they do a good job with your confidence? Do you feel like you're just born with confidence?
I don't know. Okay. I mean, my parents were supportive. Arrogance. I don't know. I think it's part of it was just like a sort of trust of like, I don't know. I
trust
think
yourself with
I think
this.
what I'm saying is kind of funny, and like some people agree with me.
That's sort of Shane Gillis confidence.
Exactly.
I think what I'm saying is funny.
All my slur content early on.
Slurm was.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
You can't spell slurm without slur.
That's cancel Futurama. But yeah, so I think there was some of that.
Oh, yours was slurp. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's very weird.
But I think with this
that's
now,
not the thing that weighs you down. I almost think that energizes you.
Yeah,
like getting online because you usually win in some capacity. Also, it's emboldening that there's so many people that are on our side. So like you get a lot of support.
Will never admit defeat.
But you can expose them for that. Like that's the thing.
Not
like
you
and
win, but like
when I fight on Twitter, I want the person because I fight really nice. Like I try to overwhelm them with understanding.
Me too.
And by winning, what I mean is I wanted the person to go, I'll think about that.
Yes.
That never fucking happens.
Sometimes it does.
It has happened a few times.
Okay.
I've gotten
a few.
I've gotten messages from like Republicans who've been like, "Hey, I saw your video about Tucker Carlson. He's kind of a Nazi, right?" It's like, yeah, there you go.
Love Mitch McConnell.
So there's, so there is that like there are instances where even the approach that we take that's a little bombastic. I don't know, aggressive, a little aggressive,
than your average
news show. But I think that approach can turn people off, obviously, but also it can be effective. And I have had those conversations where I'm like, I'm just trying to understand you, and I'm just trying to help, and more often than not, it's just frustrating.
Yeah.
But now I think I'm in this sort of position where there are people who I think are liars or are stupid and are cruel. And they have these huge platforms and these large, tiny voices. And so I think it's important to whether or not it's not to convince that person, it's to convince people watching or like reading.
People who might read.
People reading along like, oh yeah, that is a good point.
I think that there's generally, for the most part, I mean, I don't know if you fight with people that have that are just random people very often anymore. But going after Ben Shapiro or calling out something in the comments there, that seems like a valid use of time because so many people will look at it, you know, and you don't know what person gets.
Right, and if you get a lot of engagement, that lifts it up, and then you're like, okay, now people will see this.
Exactly. But wasting time going back and forth with some random person who doesn't want to know the truth and doesn't want to listen, that might not be the best use of time.
Yeah.
I have a very different
I think it'll ramp up too. Like that's
Yeah.
like in terms of the hatred, I think it'll like as we do more and more
Yeah.
like the
new
election
show,
and
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
And so that I try to ignore, and I don't know, because a lot of the stuff we talk about is like, well, we believe this
It's
stuff. We think it's important.
Well,
so
a lot
like
of
we can't
people
let that
treat the candidates like mascots for their team. Like if you get to the point that you actually put yourselves out there and endorse a candidate, all the other candidates, like true believers, will hate you automatically for no reason.
Yeah.
And I would like to be able to do stuff that's like sillier and apolitical to sort of be like, no, also like you can also think I'm funny in this way, even if you despise me for these other things. I don't know if that's possible, but it's
I have a hard time. I go back and forth. Sometimes it's like water off a duck's back. Sometimes it hurts.
Really?
Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
Or it's
something
more,
stick with you.
It's more like sometimes it gets me really in my head and I doubt, you know, and I'm similar to you. I don't want to be angry all the time. I do think it's more effective for me personally when I'm communicating with somebody to come at it from a place of like, you know, I try to be reasonable. I try to be like, I hear you, but this, that, you know, and I think that's effective for me, but I don't get nearly as much blowback as Cody does because I don't get into the fray as much.
Right. Well, I mean, I can be very mean online.
Yeah, you're good at that.
And I like to think that I'm very nice in real life. But well,
I know you like to think that.
I do like to think that.
No, you are a nice
also,
person.
I get like like the DMs is when I have the conversations. Like, all right, but like, what's going on with you? Like, what's upsetting you so much? It's really hard to do on Twitter when it's the back and forth and it's public and like people are watching, and so you sort of like guard yourself and you don't want to come off X or Y. So I think people have a different sort of way of talking in that forum.
Yeah.
But
you're way nicer than me.
I'm way nicer. So I get but then sometimes you get a message like and it's scary sometimes. Sometimes you just get somebody that's like tweeting at you all the time, something terrible, or you know, I get messages every so often with people sending me different images of assault rifles, you know, and you're like, okay, what?
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
And as a woman, you probably get another layer of bullshit. That
but
Cody
not as much
doesn't.
as you would think.
Yeah,
Or
good.
maybe I just don't look at it and
Yeah.
but like absolutely, there's plenty of that. But more than that, what I get online is love. Like I from my Twitter experience.
Yeah. Oh,
if
yeah. I
you're
get so
doing
much
a good
love. Yeah.
thing, most of the people, because most people are sane. If they don't like it, they stop interacting with it. So
Yeah.
the bulk of people are there because they watch your thing because they like it.
Right.
Yeah.
So and that's incredibly powerful and fulfilling and lovely and wonderful. You just have to also filter through all the awful.
And more often than not, the really negative. It's like, I mean, I've had people like literally start Twitter account like kind of obsessive weirdos who like resent Cracked decline in some ways, and then like now they've changed their avatar to like a personal photo they found of me on Facebook,
Right.
and now they tweet at me all the time and like find out like tweet at my friends and like coworkers and like abusive, harassing kind of stuff. That bothers me.
What's
where it
the
gets
goal?
personal. It's to freak people out. I think
To give you a bad name?
I don't even know.
Like dressing as Spider-Man and committing crimes around
well,
the
because
city?
it's clearly not me. It's
There's
just like a
some
weirdo.
weird
Oh,
obsession.
okay.
Yeah.
It's not in a way where your friends would think it's you.
No, I mean I've gotten messages like,
Just
"Hey,
like-
this guy's tweeting at me with your face," and it's
just
weird.
like a mediocre trolling
Yeah.
attempt.
Yeah,
That's
and just
confusing.
like
Weird.
sort of a lot of rage, and it's unsettling, I would say,
Yeah.
because it is like you're finding these things about like it's unsettling.
And it's as a bit or like a trolling gimmick, it's disconnected in a way that makes you think that person is mentally unstable. Yeah.
Right. Well, and then you go through their history, and that's
Their
sort of what I
prank.
was getting at. Like
Like, it's
more
kind
often
of a weird prank.
more
Yeah.
often than not, like when I get like the real hatred or like see like a response is like, ooh. Like more often than not, I don't want to generalize, but more often than not, I go to their timeline. I'm like, oh, you're literally a Nazi.
Yeah.
Like not
Yeah.
like the colloquial. I mean, like, oh, like you got some retweets there, bud.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like overwhelming love and support from people versus like Nazis hate you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I find the trend
I'm okay
is
with
they're
that trade-off.
also the last, or like if they engage you, part of the conversation is always they're like, well, you don't understand is you're the freak, man. I'm normal. Like, get ready, dude, because the world is going to fall. Like, your bubble's going to pop and it's going to become my vision of the world. Mr. 60,000 followers. You click on their timeline. It's all Nazi shit and like 3 crazy people are following them.
Right.
And you're like, what in life is feeding back to you the impression that you're the silent majority?
Right.
You're
You're the winner,
winning
yeah.
this argument here.
Like,
Yeah.
everyone's a Nazi deep down.
Right,
You're
right.
like,
No.
yeah, not really generally, no.
Everyone will like go along with it deep down,
Yeah.
ultimately, as we've seen in history. But
yes.
not everyone is thinking the things that you're thinking there, bud.
Well, that's
that.
a bummer. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of sort of feeds into the problems I think that we had already.
If someone came and offered you a TV deal on the network of your choice to turn this show into like a guaranteed, like The Daily Show, this is what you do now, and you have to do it for at least 10 more years, would you do it?
How much
money?
Well,
Money?
No, if you,
no.
you
How
would
much
have-
control would I have? How much like editorial like would they be like? You can't talk about that, or you can't say.
No,
these sort of
dream
things,
deal,
like-
write whatever you want, hire whatever team you want. Imagine
You have enough people
the
to-
amount of network notes. Like, yeah, network exists, but you
But
know,
like they're not going to be like you can't. You
like
can't
what the
do
Daily
that
Show and
product,
Colbert
or,
got
like-
away with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm asking more like
more so because I would want
the
to.
question
I would
is
want to go
more aimed
farther.
at, would you
but-
attach yourself to that news intake?
If we had
Yeah,
a
I think I would.
big amount of a nice staff to
Yeah, I
do
think
the
that's
work.
an
Okay,
amazing
that's the key.
opportunity to communicate things that I think are important. So I probably would still do that. Yeah.
And yet, part of me would be sad to see you tied up
Yeah.
hosting behind a desk exclusively for 10 years.
I don't disagree with you on that.
But it would be all consuming, as
Yeah.
this show currently is.
But also I think that might lend itself to more scheduled approach to it and more time left for more fun things. And that's the thing that.
I see. Now we're negotiating.
Yeah.
You're like, there could be a sketch component.
Yeah.
I got 22 minutes.
Can I do
Yeah.
like the songs and stuff? Well, because that's the thing. Like there are so
We'll
many
trim
things
the
that
hobo
I
parade
want
to a lean 20.
I've got so many stories and things I want to write, and also like song. Like I love writing and recording music and stuff. And I would love to have an outlet for that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would lament the loss of that if it meant the loss of that.
Yeah.
But I also think I don't know. It's important to have that voice channeling. I don't
So
know.
if you got come at us with your offers.
Yeah.
People.
Give me
you know
your
what?
give me your best.
Ideal network or streaming
Like
service
Netflix
for
or
your show?
something?
Maybe Netflix.
Has Adult Swim had a news show yet?
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting, and that's like that could be a 15-minute.
Right. You could, if Eric Andre ever gets out of there.
Yeah.
Cody to replace Eric Andre. This is my.
Start that campaign.
Final
It's gonna be way less weird.
Oh, I love him so much, and I love you guys so much.
We love
Thank
you
you
too.
again
We love
for
you too.
being here. Plug your stuff with the proper names because I said something silly at
No,
the
I
top.
don't think
I don't
so.
think so.
Our
Twitter's Some More News.
Some More News. Our podcast is Even More News.
The YouTube show's Some More
Is
News.
Some More News.
Patreon.com/Some More News.
Some More
Yeah.
News.
And our new show launching.
News.
Yeah, it's
next-
called Worst Year Ever.
Yeah, that launches next week on the iHeartRadio thing.
It'll be on all
It's
the
on
stuff.
all the things. It's on it. It's
app.
Follow all the social media stuff at Worst Year Pod.
Yeah.
Um,
But ours is all under the Some More News umbrella. So
Are you at Katy Stoll?
I am Katy with a Y.
It's cool when people can scoop their real
I
name.
Yeah.
I wish. I'm
Dr.
Dr.
Mr.
Mr.
Cody.
Cody. I'll spell it because you have to. DRMISTERCODY.
I know.
I know. We all know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Well,
like it.
I have several comedian friends whose name, when you Twitter handle or Instagram handle, when you say it, can inherently not. There's no way you could know what's the
Yeah.
proper spelling, and I'm like, You're shooting yourself in the foot with
I
your branding.
know,
Now.
I
Don't you
know.
realize that you are the commodity?
And it's from like 10 years ago. So I was like,
Yeah.
what do I
It's
do?
from longer than 10 years ago.
That Twitter handle?
Oh, but you've had that name.
No, I mean that was pretty much when I started at
You're
Crack.
doing
Oh.
fine though.
It
Your
was
Twitter's
called-
I thought
yeah,
you-
yeah.
oh,
but I wish
thought-
it was just like at CODY.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Let's see who's got that.
Probably someone.
Who's Cody Prime on Twitter? There's the original Cody, and then we'll check Katy too,
I
and
could
then
also
we'll
just
be done.
I could also just do at Cody Prime.
I bet that's
You'd
taken
lose
too. You
a-
don't
you'd
think
lose
so?
a lot, though.
Yeah.
Okay, at Cody is Cody Johns,
What?
Oh my God! What?
That's crazy.
who is a musician
What?
with 360,000 followers.
Unacceptable.
The only person we share is Melissa Joan Hart because she follows
Everybody.
the entirety
Yeah.
of Twitter for
Yeah,
some
she
reason.
does.
What does that mean? Why did she do that? Let's see who's Katy Alpha, the original Katy. There shall never be another Katy. Like, that's quite a coup to get at
Katy?
That's like you were there
What
when
a-
Twitter
Yeah.
started.
Brilliant move.
At Katy is a woman named Katy.
Okay, cool.
She joined in March of 2007.
Yep.
1,000
Yep.
followers. Ooh, see, the other one
You could
was a
probably
big
buy
deal.
that.
She hasn't
Yeah.
done much with that.
She's just a humble.
Yeah, he's like a music. He's like a guy
slow
doing
rolling
shows
Katy
and stuff.
from way back.
I think the only thing though, it's more just a matter of finding the right new handle, because I think the only thing that happens if you change it is that like you lose your like verified tag or something like that.
Yeah, I want to keep
So just,
that.
I would just get
Not-
re-verified or whatever.
That I can ever
Um,
fucking get one.
I don't understand why. That's nuts.
I'm also the only of like the 5 cardinal people listed on the Cracked Wikipedia article about like these people
Are
were on the
people who
video
do stuff,
team.
yeah.
Everyone's is a link to their own thing except me. I'm
What?
just regular text.
We got to get you,
You gotta
on
edit
No
that.
Wikipedia.
respect.
You gotta change that Wikipedia.
Oh, well, we need to get on this Twitter verification. Everybody submit a verification request for Michael Swain.
I've tried
Mm-hmm.
twice. The window's about to reopen. I am going to try again. Someone told me that. Did you guys find there was any trick to it, or what did you
I
say
can't
in your
remember.
essay?
I have to look. I did find that there was a trick, and I can't remember what.
I think I just was
You
like,
got it done
yeah,
quick.
I first try. I think I was just like, yeah, here's some articles and videos on Cracked. It's a website.
I did that and it didn't work, but someone told me, I think Soren, that he also did that and it didn't work, but then it worked the next time when he added, this is me, here's my stuff. I'm writing because people sometimes rip my work off.
Yeah, you have to
Like,
say.
you have a reason you
have
need
to
to
say
be
that,
verified.
yeah.
Like, this is
Yeah,
my
yeah.
livelihood. I would like
might
Sometimes
have
there are
been-
weirdos that use my face and make fake Twitter accounts
that
and
might
harass
have
my
been
friends.
the secret that
So
I had.
So I'm gonna
I'm
try.
still seeking that elusive Instagram verification, though.
Small Beans is terrible at Instagram, but follow us at Small Beans Comedy. Hoisting us out of the pit. Any last words?
get some sleep, everybody.
Get some sleep.
It's
Yeah.
valuable.
And
I
like-
don't,
and
but
like
you should.
What we say on our show, we love you very
Love you
much.
very much.
Just know that.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The Beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the Small Beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you.